Thank you, Aurelia and Rosa, for translating, and Councilmember Micah. And really just thank you to all of the opening speakers. And thank you all for being here. I've only been in my role at Marin Promise Partnership for about 8 months, but what I've really come to learn about the community that we're working with is that it's brilliant, that it's committed, and that there's a real sense that we need to collaborate at this time. So just really an honor and really blessed to see all of you here today. So as I mentioned, I'm the new CEO of Marin Promise Partnership. I joined in August of last year, and before that I directed a Promise Neighborhood in San Francisco, which some have mentioned Mission Promise Neighborhood. I want you to know that I do this work because I was a high school dropout. I grew up in deep poverty in a racially segregated neighborhood here in the Bay Area, and I often experienced homelessness. And my mom had also dropped out of high school. And eventually, together, we both enrolled in community college at the same time. And we did well. She transferred to UC Santa Cruz, and I transferred to UC Berkeley. And after earning my master's in public policy, I dedicated my life to building support systems for children and families. I knew that there were many others like us who had the ability to succeed, but were held back by the challenges of poverty. When I led the Promise Neighborhood in San Francisco, in the Mission District, I saw how schools could partner with local government, neighborhood nonprofits, and families themselves to build more supportive systems for children, and to also begin to shape the built environment by building affordable housing and childcare centers. And over the years, we saw the kinder readiness rate go up, and we saw the high school graduation rate go up pretty dramatically. And I feel extremely fortunate now to be part of Marin Promise Partnership. So if you're new to Marin Promise Partnership, you should know that we serve as a convener for the community, for dozens of nonprofit organizations and government agencies across Marin. And over the years, we've used data to drive collaborative strategies, resulting in pretty large increases in the number of childcare slots in West Marin, the elimination of chronic absenteeism for Black students in Sausalito Marin City community schools, and a dramatic increase in the college completion rate for students of color at Tamalpais High. Those are just a few of our highlights. I'd like to, sharing that, I'd like to thank those in the room who have been guiding this collaborative work. So if you're a member of the Marin Promise Partnership leadership team, will you please stand up? Thank you. This really is a cross-sector, cross-agency approach that we're taking. Also, if you're a member of the Marin Promise Partnership Board, will you please stand up? And finally, if you're the founder of Marin Promise Partnership, will you please stand up? Founder Ann Matheson, thank you, Ann. Thank you all for your work and for the great accomplishments to date. And so you all can learn more about our work by looking at the posters on the walls around the room. And as I mentioned, we saw some increases. We had some successes. We saw some increases in the number of childcare slots and college completion rates in some schools and communities. But our goal is to actually scale these types of results countywide. And in order to do this, in order to take on this large challenge, we need to take it one step at a time. So we're looking at neighborhoods as the units of change. So we're starting this place-based approach here in the Canal, and hope to eventually support similar efforts in Marin City, West Marin, Novato, and Novato. So, the Canal. A few statistics about the canal. It is the most segregated Latino census tract in the Bay Area. 84% of the residents are renters, and over 2/3 of the housing is considered to be overcrowded. The two elementary schools that directly serve the canal are comprised of 100% students of color. And only 47% of the graduating students of color are eligible for admission to California colleges. But statistics don't measure spirit. If you've ever been to the canal during the Dia de los Muertos procession, you will have got a glimpse of the strong spirit and vibrant culture of this community. As mentioned earlier, there are residents, there are schools and nonprofits and government leaders who are doing amazing work here in the canal. Our place-based planning process, Canal Promise Neighborhood, is building on this work. We are not starting from zero. And we're looking at 3 initiatives that are in process right now as a starting point for us to begin this Canal Promise Neighborhood planning. Those initiatives are, 1, the Community Schools Initiative led by San Rafael City Schools. 2, the planning process led by residents here in the community called Nuestro Canal, Nuestro Futuro. And 3, the county's CalAIM initiative, which hopes to create a more integrated support system, not only in the canal, but across the county. If we begin to connect these 3 initiatives, we believe we can create a plan for the neighborhood that supports academic excellence for students, health and social supports for families, and a long-term plan for economic vitality in the canal. So we've created a cross-sector steering committee that is identifying common goals and joint strategies, and we aim to draft a plan for the neighborhood that includes measurable goals. We're using a structured planning process called results-based accountability, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. I want to say that I feel so good about being part of Marin Promise Partnership because it occupies a very special place in the county. We are positioned to pull data from across agencies, and we can help connect the dots. We can help fill in the gaps. Early themes that are arising in this process as we compare the strategic plans from the 3 initiatives and looking at other plans that are currently in motion in the canal, some early themes are rising in our steering committee. And some of these have been mentioned, but 1, there's a need for more space for early learning programs and also staff for early learning programs. We must ensure that families have access to support services. Residents should have pathways to in-demand employment sectors. And all of these things must be set in the context of a plan for neighborhood housing, transit, and sea level rise. These are the things that are arising from our cross-sector conversations. So over the next few months, we will create a plan that guides our collective programming and investment in the community. One last thing to note, our steering committee, which is comprised of county, city, school district, and nonprofit leaders, all agree that even though our work is long-term, we recognize that many immigrant families in the canal are facing immediate challenges, which you heard a little bit about from Aurelia. And our steering committee is committed to creating long-term solutions, but also addressing the urgency of the moment. This work, for me, is about seeing each other as neighbors and lending support to those who most need it. As mentioned, at a time when the federal government is unpredictable, we are affirming that we have the most agency in our own communities, especially when we pull together. That's what this is about.